Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today I'm coming at you with another super fun hack. Let's get to it. Alright, so today I am actually going to match two of my favorite patterns. I love the Chapman cardigan. It is super cute. I love being able to just kind of wear it over any outfit or anything like that. I also love the staycation dress. I love the tiers of the skirt so much. I think it's so in trend right now. And I've been seeing a lot of dresses that are like a crossover bodice with a tiered skirt. And I thought, why not match these two patterns to create just exactly what I've been picturing in my mind. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to use this beautiful gray Swiss dot fabric from August Closet, and I'm going to be using those two patterns and I'm going to mash them together. There really isn't much that I'm going to change from the patterns. I'm changing nothing from the skirt of the staycation. I'm using my size skirt. I'm not changing anything. I'm just cutting it out exactly like it is. And then for the Chapman cardigan, the only thing I'm doing is I'm shortening the cardigan to be like just a bodice length, and I'm going to use my staycation bodice to kind of show me how long I want to make it. And then I am going to also shorten the straps, obviously, because you want these straps to match. You're not going to want them to be all the way down, so I'm going to cut just as much as I'm cutting from the pattern from the straps, and then I'm going to widen the straps just a little bit so that they overlap and they're a little bit thicker here on the overlap. Then I'm going to just add full buttons. I'm going to sew the bodice together, just sew it together, attach the skirt, add faux buttons. Because it's going to be a V-neck, and it's a knit, I don't really need to have actual buttons. You could if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. If you want to change the look and make the band skinnier or make the top a little bit bigger, you can do that. But I'm just going with my size medium, for my bodice of the Chapman cardigan as well. So I'm not sizing up on that. The only thing I'm doing is changing the band and the length, and everything else is going to be the same. Oh, I'm also doing a short sleeve, so I'm just cropping my Chapman cardigan to a short sleeve. The Chapman cardigan also comes with a sleeveless style, so you could do this as a sleeveless as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to cutting. I'll cut the skirt, and when I get to cutting the Chapman bodice, then I'm gonna show you just exactly how I'm doing that. For the sleeve, I'm kind of just going a little bit longer. You can measure from your armpit area down how long you want it and then add a seam allowance. So I'm just going to do it this long because I can always shorten the sleeve. It's really up to you if you want to use a sleeve from another pattern and figure out the length that you want to have on it. That is up to you as well. All I'm doing is I'm just cutting it shorter. Alright, so here's my Chapman bodice. I'm grabbing this is my bodice for my staycation. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it where my armpit ends on my staycation. I'm just going to match that up because I'm going to keep the length. So it looks like it comes right up to this line right here, about that line. So that's what I'm going to fold at, and that's where I'm going to cut. So I'm just making it the same length as basically as my staycation dress. That's the only thing I'm doing different to the bodice of my Chapman cardigan. And I'm going to do the same for the back bodice. Alright, now the only thing we have left to cut, if I can find it, is our band. It was on the ground. So like I said, I want to make my band a little bit wider. And I'm going to shorten it, obviously, because of the fact that my bodice is not as long. So I am going to figure out how much shorter I created the bodice. So I'm going to measure that. And I took off about 12.5 inches. So I am going to take off of my band about 12.5 inches. So I'm measuring 12.5. And I'm going to fold it, and I'm just cutting my band this size, double. So I took 12, essentially I'm taking 12.5 2 times because it's a band is cut on the double. I'm taking 2.5 or 12.5 from each side because each side, the band goes on each side. So I'm taking 12.5 and 12.5 because that's double, if that makes sense. So instead of, you know, like cutting it, I just take the 12.5 and know that when I cut it on fold, I am already taking both of those 12.5s. I hope that makes sense. To cut it, I'm going to use my ruler. This is a 2-inch ruler. So that's gonna add my width, my 2 extra inches. I actually don't think I need exactly 2 extra inches. Maybe just 1.5 inches might do, but we'll see. Maybe I'll look at it before I attach it to figure out if I wanna do it the full or not. Because when I fold it, the band itself will be about 2 inches because this will get eaten by my seam allowance. So this is how wide my band will be. So it's up to you if you want to keep it so it's a small band, but I wanted a bigger band, so that's why I'm going bigger. I don't know. Once you see the look, you might decide that you still want it just the regular size, which is smaller, or you want it thicker. That's up to you. So now let's get to sewing. All right, we're gonna get started sewing, and we're just gonna be sewing things pretty much exactly like the pattern calls for each of them. There's just a couple of things that are a little bit different. Really just the overlap of the band and then sewing it together, that's it. So I've got my bodice, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna face them right sides together. This is my front bodice, my back bodice, and sew the shoulder seams. Then I'm also going to prep my skirts right now. And so I'm gonna grab that middle tier and sew the sides together. If you're adding a pocket, then you would add a pocket. I'm not adding a pocket. So if you wanna see how to add a pocket, you can go watch the staycation video tutorial, because on there I did put pockets. On this one I'm not, so I'm just sewing those sides together for that middle tier and the bottom tier. All right, let's sew that up. All right, so now we're going to open up our bodice and attach our sleeves by putting them right sides together, right at that middle section, and matching up the raw edges. Let's go sew it up. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew my side seams right here. I just thought about the fact that this would look really cute too if I did some like fluttery sleeves as well. I don't know why I'm so into like the flutter sleeve here lately, like a circle sleeve or just like a little squiggly flounce sleeve or something like that would be really cute too. So we'll see. I might, depending on how this turns out, I feel like I'm going to be making a whole lot more of these in my future. Super easy to sew, and I think it's gonna turn out adorable, I hope. All right, so now you can go ahead and do your neckband as well if you want to. Since I've pinned these, they're gonna be stable. So I'm gonna grab my neckband and fold it wrong sides together. Again, I'm just doing the same thing that you would do if you were just sewing up the Chapman cardigan, except for I don't have to finish off the edges of the band because of the fact that it's gonna get sewn together to the skirt. So it's not like the bottom of it has to be finished, which usually we do with the Chapman cardigan. So it's like you're skipping a step. So I'm gonna fold it in half, and I'm gonna find my half point right here. And I'm also going to find my half point of my bodice. So match those shoulders and go to the back. And then I'm gonna match the right sides together, the band, and then go all the way down the front. Looks like I might have cut my band a little too short. You know why? Because this fabric doesn't have very much stretch. So maybe I need to keep that in mind. I'm gonna cut another one, and I'm gonna add more. If you want to, one thing you can do so this doesn't happen to you is measure that opening, and then do like a 90% because this fabric this fabric doesn't have much stretch, because you're supposed to stretch it a little bit here at the neckline so it kind of brings it up. But I think if I leave it exactly like the pattern calls for, because of the fact that this fabric doesn't have much stretch, it's going to be very, very tight. So I'm going to just measure and create my own neckband. You can make it a little bit longer and then just kind of stretch it out at the neckline like you're supposed to, and then attach it. And if you have a little bit left over at the end, just clip it. And I thought about doing that, but then I'm just like, I'm just gonna go for it. Anyway, so I'm gonna recut that. And then I'm going to go ahead and place it like I was doing and sew it on. And once I'm done sewing those two things, I'm also going to grab my skirts, and I'm going to find the half of my skirt, and I already marked it on here already, and I'm gonna put in a basting stitch at the top, unless you want to do like however you want to gather it, because what I'm going to do is gather my skirts at the top so I can attach later. I'm going to attach this to the bodice and this to the bottom of the skirt. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in a gathering stitch. And I like to mark my halves, because then once I gather, I know exactly like how to spread out my gathers evenly. I like to sometimes gather with clear elastic. So maybe I'll gather this with clear elastic, being that it's a heavier fabric. If you want to know how to gather with clear elastic, we have a video where I show how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and prep this to gather and do the gathering, redo the neckband, and then we'll come back to just sew it all together. All right, friends, so here's an important step not to avoid when you're doing a hack. Trying things on before you move on to the next step if you're questioning yourself. So I was thinking, I did want to, remember I said that I wanted to make the bands bigger because I like the look of the bigger band. But then I got to thinking, but this is supposed to be a dress bodice. Do I really want this thicker band? Which will be nice if I have a cardigan. But being that this is going to overlap, I got to thinking, I better try this on because it feels like it's going to be too thick and bulky. So if I fold it in half, which is taking away those 2 inches that I added, and tuck them in and place them on top of each other, I feel like that gives it a way better look of a dress than to have that thick band. So what I'm going to do is, unfortunately, I have to remove the band, take off the 2 inches that I added, the extra 2 inches, and leave it, take it back to just the, you know, the 2-inch overlap or whatever, the inch width that the cardigan is supposed to come with. Or you can even make it a little bit thinner if you want to. So I don't know, I'm kind of thinking that thinner is a little bit better when it comes to it because of it looking more like a dress than a cardigan. So I am going to take off at least the 2 inches and just sew it back on like we did already, and then I'll come back and we'll piece it together. I'm actually gonna take an extra inch off. So I'm literally making the band an inch, actually an inch shorter? What is the word? An inch narrower, narrow I think is the word, than what it's meant to be. And we'll see how that ends up. And then you make up your mind on how wide you want it to be or not. So I did the seam ribbon for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. All right, much better. So I think the thinner band definitely is the way to go with the neck on this project. Now the next step is to go ahead and try it on and overlap that front piece right here to get it just right, however tight you want it to be. If you want to overlap it more so it's really covered, however you want to overlap it right here. It does have a little bit of wiggle room, which I like, but if you don't like it to be loose fitting, you could have used the staycation pattern dress and kind of shaved it in, or you could put this on inside out and shave a little bit of the sides off to make it a little bit more snug if you wanted a tighter fit. Again, I like the loose fit, so I'm going to leave it like this. So what we're doing now is I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and I'm just going to baste this down right here in the front. And the reason why you can just baste it, or you can actually sew it together. The reason why I'm just basting is because then I'm going to add buttons to it, and you can remove the basting stitch. But if you want to just go ahead and sew it on together so it's not going to come apart, you can just do one stitch right along the edge and sew it together. Then we're going to go ahead and gather our skirt, the width of our bodice, to start attaching our skirt. And we'll be done. I think this is going to be adorable. I'm excited about it. Look at how cute this is going to be. Even if you just wanted to be this as a top. I know we already kind of hacked the Chapman cardigan before to be a cropped sweater. So this would be like a cute top too. You can add a peplum to it, just a peplum top. The sleeves do seem a little long, so I probably will take off a couple of inches here, but I'm getting really excited. So let me go ahead and sew this on, and then we're going to gather a skirt and attach it. What we'll do is we'll baste this together here, and we'll just attach our skirt to our actual bodice, and that's it. That's bow playing with this bone, in case you were wondering what all the ruckus is going on. All right, so I mentioned that I'm gathering with clear elastic, which I have a tutorial here on how I do that, but I can go ahead and show you real quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece of elastic the width of my bodice, and I'm going to use this elastic and mark it in quarters, so mark the quarters of the elastic, and this is what I'm going to use to gather my skirt, that first tier, because this has to gather the width of this bodice. Then I'm going to use a clear elastic again for the bottom and for the other tier, and gather it the width of the bottom of this tier and sew it together. Again, go check out that video if you have questions about how to gather with clear elastic. All right, so we've got our bodice, and like I said, I stitched it on right here. And then we've got our gathered skirts. Here's my long one, and here's my middle section one. And we're going to just attach it right sides together. So the right side of my skirt is attached to the right side of my bodice at those quarter points. And I'm gonna do the same for the next tier. Because I have pins, I can do that. I mean clips. But if you wanna sew one tier and then come back and attach the other one, you can do that as well. We do have other methods of gathering if elastic gathering is not your favorite. We have videos on how to gather with other methods of gathering as well. So if you wanna check that out as well. All right, so I'm gonna go sew that on. Then I'm going to hem my skirt, and I'm going to hem my sleeve, and I'm actually gonna cut those 2 inches off I said that I was going to cut off, and then hem it, and then we'll be done, and we're gonna check it out and see how it turns out. Actually, I still need to add buttons, so I need to figure out too what buttons I'm gonna use, and then I'll attach those and we'll be done. I think that's gonna be super cute. All right, we're almost done. And the hardest part of this whole situation is trying to figure out what buttons to use. I didn't buy new buttons for this project, so I just had to look through my stuff and find some that I liked. Now, I attach my buttons by hand just because I liked the motion, and I don't know, I just like doing it. But you can obviously do it on your sewing machine if that's what you wanna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach these buttons, and then I'm gonna come back and show you the end results. It's looking so good, I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to try it on. All right, friends, this is what I call a successful hack. I love how this turned out. I think Bo likes it too. I think it turned out so good. I love that looser fit. I know. You always want to come say hi. He wants to say hello to you all. I love the looser fit. I think that the band turned out great. Okay. I gotta tell them about the dress. I think the band width is great. I did take, like I said, an inch off. I added the 2 inches, but then I took 3 inches off. So I ended up just taking 1 inch off the band, shortening the band, adding the tiers of the staycation dress, shortening the sleeves. How adorable is this? I love it. I think he likes it too. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't so you never miss any of the tutorials. Let me know below if there's something you want to see, like a hack or something that you're like thinking, will this work? Let me know below and then I can give it a try. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you all next time. Bo and I will see you all next time. Bye!